Welcome to Silicon Valley Nonprofits, a service of KMVT Community Media. I'm Bev Lenahan, your host. Today our guest is Michelle Beasley, Executive Director of San Mateo Parks Foundation. Thanks for coming today, Michelle. It's nice to have you here.
Thanks for having me, Beverly.
Happy to have this little interchange with you. Well, you know, we realize that parks are a vital part of what makes a holistic family or makes individuals really blossom as well. So tell us a little bit about your mission and how you bring about this holistic approach for our families and individuals.
Yeah, so the San Mateo County Parks Foundation's mission is to inspire people to care for, learn about, and enjoy San Mateo County parks. So if we break that down, we inspire people to care for the parks. So one thing that we have been supporting a lot over the last 2 decades is volunteerism in the parks. We have supported thousands of volunteers doing all kinds of projects in the parks, and we do this in a variety of ways. We will coordinate volunteer work days in the parks. We will fund the tools and the refreshments, and then we also provide small grants to the Friends groups who have docent training programs or do habitat restoration. It's very heartwarming to watch a parent with their kid plant a native garden. Yes. It's very healing to get your hands in the soil and then to feel this sense of accomplishment that you created something. We inspire people to enjoy the parks, and we do this in a lot of different ways. I like to enjoy the parks by going on long solo hikes, but that's not how everyone wants to enjoy the parks, and so we want to meet people where they're at. One way to do this is to put on a variety of different events. We put on the Coyote Point Kite Festival in partnership with the San Mateo County Parks Department.
I've seen that.
Yeah, over 500 people came this year, and it's
wonderful.
a very enjoyable way to enjoy our lovely park on the bay, Coyote Point. We partner with REI on geocaching events and evening mixers in the parks. And so coming up with different ways to engage people and bring them out into the parks that meets them where they're at is very important to us. But another way for people to enjoy the parks is for them to feel safe and secure when they're actually there. Yes. So we funded trail signs throughout all the parks, and they have really good information on them, so you know where you're headed, how difficult the trail is. But my favorite piece of those signs is each of them is numbered, and it corresponds to a number on your park map. So if you're feeling a little unsure of where you're at and you have your park map, you can quickly identify where you're at, which helps people to feel more confident.
I would like that.
Yeah, exactly. And then we also inspire people to learn about the parks. And perhaps our most significant project has been the Bill and Jean Lane Education Center at Edgewood Park.
I wanted to mention Bill and Jean. They've been so benevolent throughout their lives. Their philanthropic efforts are so noteworthy, and when I read that they were such an integral part of the Education Center, I really want you to tell our viewers about that.
Yeah, so the Bill and Jean Lane Education Center came about from a line item in a master plan that basically talked about we need to engage people more, we need to promote volunteerism at this park. And it was a collaborative effort from the beginning with San Mateo County Parks Department, the Friends of Edgewood, California Native Plant Society, and then the San Mateo County Parks Foundation taking the lead on fundraising, everything from the permitting to the design to the actual building.
How long did all that take?
It took almost 10 years, and the interesting thing, it takes a long time. Yes. Because it was a county project, this was interesting. There was no silent fundraising piece for this project because it was a public process. Yeah. You had to have an EIR, you had to make improvements. And so smaller dollars came in at the beginning and larger dollars came in towards the end. And Jean Lane had been a fan of Edgewood Park for many years. She's a big fan of Stu Weiss and the work he's been doing to bring back the Bay checker spot butterfly. So resource protection at Edgewood Park was very important to Jean Lane. And so she came in with some more generous financial contributions for that project. And because it's a county building on county land, naming it went to the Board of Supervisors, not controversial at all. It was very easy to name it the Bill and Jean Lane Education Center because of their wonderful support. And it's a beautiful, interactive facility that gets thousands of visitors every year.
I would imagine that was sort of a magnet, just having their name attached. People would be curious and know that it would be a well-done project, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's nice to have the Friends of Edgewood at the park. They lead the spring wildflower walks every year, extremely popular, and that brings a lot of people into the visitor center.
I know we discovered the Edgewood Center when we were looking for places to consider for taking my mom on some of her last trips and trying to figure out where she could walk and all of that and what she would be interested in. And we had never been there before, and I think we spent a good couple hours in that whole area. Yeah, it was delightful.
It is
Wonderful.
a lovely park.
So that's great. Thank you so much. Well, I'm sure that there are always surprises about what foundations actually do fund and the kinds of things they come up with. So share with our viewers maybe a couple things that would be a surprise that the foundation actually funds.
Well, one of my favorites is our youth environmental education field trips, and I really feel this meets a very critical need in our community. There are kids in San Mateo County who have never seen the Pacific Ocean.
Oh my.
They've never looked up at the redwood tree. This is something I take for granted, and I think it's important that every kid growing up in San Mateo County knows these wonders. But a lot of schools and after-school programs that may serve low-income youth, the cost of actually taking a bus to one of these parks can be prohibitive for some groups.
It's gotten very prohibitive.
It can be as much as $1,000 for a half-day field trip. So the Parks Foundation will cover the cost of that bus transportation, because if you don't have a car of your own, a lot of our parks are hard to get to, and we want to address that transportation barrier. So one way is we'll fund the transportation costs, and then we'll connect these schools or programs to either a docent or a ranger who can help interpret the park and welcome them to that park.
Wonderful.
Something else that people may not know that we fund is Bicycle Sunday. Bicycle Sunday
great.
is a year-round, it's every Sunday throughout the year, and the 4.5 miles of Kenyatta Road between Highway 92 and Edgewood Park are closed off.
Of course.
And it's open to cyclists and rollerbladers. They have, the road to themselves, this beautiful scenic roadway without any cars. So if you're learning to ride a bike or you want to kick off a longer bike ride, Bicycle Sunday is a great way to do that. And that's something that we fund. And sometimes we'll bring out a bike tech to help people repair bikes on the spot there. So that's something people may not know about.
I didn't know you funded it. My husband is a rollerblader, and all I would hear is, well, it's starting, the Sundays are starting again, so I can go out and rollerblade, and he would, tax himself to do something different and more adventuresome because he knew it was safe and there wouldn't be cars following behind him. So that's really good to know that that's one of the things you fund. I did not know that.
Yeah.
Very, very good. Well, you have an exciting time coming up, and share with our visitors what you're celebrating and how they might become involved in the celebration.
Yeah, well, we turned 20 this year, so we're
Very
celebrating
good.
our 20th anniversary.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And we're having an event in a park, and we're actually honoring 3 inspirational women who really launched the foundation. There are many people who helped get the foundation launched, but there are 3 in particular that we're honoring. Julia Bott, who is our founding executive director, Linda Dyson Weaver, who was on the County Parks Commission at the time, and Linda Liebes, who was the executive director of the Coyote Point Museum for Environmental Education at the time, now known as Curiosity. All 3 of them were on this alternative funding committee, which was tasked with coming up with a sustainable source of funding for parks. Many people don't realize that San Mateo County is one of just 2 Bay Area counties that do not have a dedicated source of funding for parks.
Wow.
And so there's just been years of unfunded maintenance projects, and it's been hard to do large capital projects. And so the foundation was created as a way to raise money for the Parks Department that was simply designated for parks.
Wonderful.
So we want to honor them.
Well, I'm sure our viewers will want to look and find out more. Give us your website address quickly.
Yeah, it is supportparks.org. And if you want to know more about the event, it's /celebrating20. But Support Parks, very easy to remember.
Thank you so much, and thanks so much for being with us today. A pleasure to have you, Michelle.
Thank you, Beverly.